Hello there and welcome to Business Nigeria. I am Tolulope Ogunjobi. Nigeria's central bank's Forex is revising its Forex policy to address issues that has thrown the FX market into some chaos. Now, the new policy shows that the CBN will not fund banks directly with additional Forex to satisfy Forex obligations for school fees, medicals, and personal travel allowance. Meanwhile, the Apex Bank on Tuesday carried out a wholesale intervention in the Forex market with the release of $370.8 million to 23 deposit money banks. CBN's acting director of corporate communications, Isaac Okorafor, says the gradual improvement in local production and the economy in general would further help boost the value of the naira against the United States dollar. Before the new Forex guideline, the CBN had last Thursday pegged the exchange rate for the payment of school fees and personal travel allowance and medicals at 375 naira to the dollar. The CBN spokesman advised Nigerians who have legitimately purchased reasons to purchase Forex to go to their banks rather than the parallel markets. The policy also mandates banks to open Forex sales points at major airports. The Central Bank of Nigeria, however, expects such retail transactions to be settled at a rate not exceeding 20% above the interbank market rate. Well, with me in the studio is a corporate commercial solicitor, Akin Omishade, and also joining me from Abuja studio is a financial expert, Aliyu Audu. I must thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you, Akin, and thank you there, Mr. Aliyu. Okay, let me start from Abuja now. Now, with this new move by the Central Bank of Nigeria, if you can hear me clearly from there, do you see this as a step in the right direction?
Oh yeah, it is a step at the right direction. Remember I spoke about this before, that it's very important for the CBN to open up the market. What is causing the scarcity of Forex and increase in the dollar in comparison to the Naira is because of scarcity. And the only way to address it is by, increasing supply so that there's no more scarcity. And the recent policies the CBN is adopting is only going to help, because now if you need dollars, you can go to your banks to get your PTA, to get your business traveling allowance. People that need to pay school fees, you can go to the, you can apply for it and it will be paid directly to the institution. People that need to pay medical bills, you can also go to the CBN and have it paid directly to the institution. So this policy is only going to is going to reduce the scarcity as well as improve the foreign exchange market. And the differences between the Naira, between the parallel market and the official rate will only become smaller as long as this policy is fully practiced. So I think this is a policy in the right direction. It's going to help the economy. It's going to help Nigeria, especially at this time that there's a talk of high inflation, economic hardship. So bringing such policies, which have been long awaited for, will only help to improve the economy. So this is a very good policy.
Indeed. I'll be back to the Abuja studios now to get more from you. Now, back in here in Lagos now. I want us to start this way. It's been a long journey from the start of this administration, one way or the other, with regards to this Forex challenge. At a time, it was pegged. At a time, it was allowed to float. A lot of moves have been made by the Apex Bank. Finally, a new revised policy is on. Now, that's what we are running now, which we're still going to talk about. In all of this, what do you think? How has it been? It's been very rough, I know. But what do you think as an expert?
Well, as someone that deals in commercial practice, this new policy or this new direction it's 50-50. In a sense, there'll be those that will benefit from this. In another sense, there'll be a lot of people that will not benefit from this. So I wouldn't make a blanket statement that it's a step in the right direction. For example, there's so many loopholes that are there already. First of all, these are things that the central bank ought to have done, being the apex regulator, as you have said. The reaction to the volatility in the Forex exchange market has always been slow. There is no forward thinking. We are always reacting to situations. First of all, we knew this is a mono economy that we are running. We only export one product, crude oil. That is our main source of income. Price of crude oil fell. Definitely our foreign exchange reserves will fall consequently. Now, looking at that situation, we are an economy that depends on imports and we buy in forex. That means we now have a situation where we don't have enough to buy, and that means the price of what we need to buy goes up. And that's where the scarcity came about. We didn't have enough. And what is the cause of it? 2.2 million barrels per day. We didn't produce 2.2 million barrels. We produced 1.4 to 1.5 million. Income decreased. Now you're saying, okay, I'm allocating X amount at X rate to certain sectors. Question, are those sectors going to kickstart the economy? Are those sectors, we're talking about private tuition, medicals, are those sectors in greater demand? That's a question for you. We have manufacturing that is almost comatose. Most factories are closing down. Most businesses are closing down. So you will see that those investors will be saying, this is where we need the money. There's a certain list of industries that needs money. We've not expanded those lists. Now we're giving it to school fees, to medicals. Now, you're saying basic travel allowance, personal travel allowance. That means you and I can make about £500 million naira in a quarter if we use our allowances by round tripping. What policies are there in place to stop that? Okay. On the flip side, you might say that this will help draw down or push down the demand from the BDCs and the parallel market. Yes, because now you have enough, you are putting that in. The buyers of the foreign exchange now have many other opportunities. Yes, there was a certain effect, a positive effect in that 2 days after this announcement was made, the dollar crashed against the naira. But what a lot of people have forgotten is not only did it crash locally, it was something that affected the dollar globally. So it is good that we are saying, okay, we now have it enough, but we are spending on consumables. We are not producing this so-called dollar. The industries that are supposed to be exporting, we are not supporting them. So, as I said, it depends on which side of the divide you are at.
You know, well, let me go back to Abuja now. Aliu, this is really getting interesting here because I'm sure you can hear Akin's view on this. But now the central bank has directed that the banks should open foreign exchange outlets that's at major airports across the country. Now, this is where many are coming to say, how easy will this be? And one way or the other, are we not trying to edge out the Bureau de change operators? Because I still think that they operate in some other countries too. It's just that I think maybe policies to make them do what is right is what we need. What do you think about actualizing this for all banks to actually have retail outlets at major airports across the country?
I think, again, it's a good thing because the more the supply, the lower the price, according to the laws of demand. You see, we have a huge market. The Nigerian market is a huge market. So banks having outlets in airports is only going to help to feed the market and will further reduce the price of dollar. So it is a good thing if it's well practiced. When you go overseas, you see that banks and, what have you, Bureau de Change have their outlets in airports. So for the fact we're facing scarcity in Nigeria, forex scarcity, I think it's a policy in the right direction because the more banks you have, the more outlets, the more supply you have, and as such, you don't have scarcity. That will reduce scarcity, and that will further reduce the price of dollar. So that is a good policy in the right direction. Again, let's be careful not to mix foreign exchange policy with Nigerian total economic problems. Foreign exchange policy will only help the foreign exchange market. Will reduce the pressure in Naira and will make the foreign market a lot better. But Nigeria has another problem, economic problem, as a result of we are not diversifying the economy, being a mono economy. So let's separate these policies. Nigerian economic aspect and Nigerian foreign policy, or forex policy is another aspect. Now, if we are looking to stabilize the exchange, the naira and the dollar, what the new policies that the CBN has introduced is very good because, there's more supply of dollars now. Through banks, whether you go to your local banks or you go to the airports, and as such, people don't have to go to bureau the change. They will not be hoarding of dollars, which will cause artificial. In the last administration, during the Jonathan era, we had you could go to your local banks and get dollars.
Indeed, we must apologize for the challenges there with regards to the audio, but we'll still try to link up to Abuja. That's with Aliyu Audu, an economic expert, to also give his views on this very, very important topic. Well, back to the studio here. I still have Akin with me here, who's been also giving insights into. Now, Akin, I picked some things here now. Round tripping, which you talked about,
yes,
and also the issue of different rates which we have. Yes. It's been argued everywhere that Nigeria is the only country where we have different rates. Foreign importers have their rates. Those for Hajj, for pilgrimage have their rates. Black market rates. There are lots and lots of rates. Some say this is the challenge we face. How do we curb round tripping? And what do you think about this rates issue?
Well, how are you going to curb? It's really a very corrupt system. A loose system. Okay, now Audu was talking about the dollar being available at the bureau de change, at the airports. You can walk to any bank. In the systems where he's described, there is availability of it in abundance. There is integrity. There is honesty. In Nigeria, that is something that is lacking. I can go to Zenith Bank and obtain $5,000 because I'm traveling abroad, and where's my integrity? Would I actually travel abroad? Now, I only need 5,000, and it said a quarter. So look at how much I can make of that to a manufacturer, to a shop owner who needs to buy, who you have not made it available to. I am going to spend on consumables. I am not reproducing. The shop owner, the factory owner will reproduce. So you've made it available to me. I can go and sell it back. I can sell it to the shop owner and make lots of profit. There are so many armchair billionaires in Nigeria today who have taken advantage of this system. So how are you going to break that? The first thing to do is put it back into the sectors where it is actually needed. We have in the budget 3.2 billion for our hospitals, teaching hospitals. But then now you're saying you are encouraging us to leave those teaching hospitals. That hurt end dollar. You now say we should go and spend it outside of the country. You're saying, okay, we should spend the monies on education, on school fees. Okay, I like it. The government has now said when we allocate these monies to you, it goes directly to the schools. But I can tell you something. How many schools are there that we verified? How many students are there that can say, I've registered today and then tomorrow I am withdrawing? Will that money return to central bank or will it go back to the student? How many Go students am I going to see? Listen, you have just created the margin to corruptly enrich ourselves has just grown wider. So I can go to a school in London. There are so many schools there. I can register a school, register myself, register you, register anybody, and then we say, yes, we go through the process. It's an investment, and then we pay the school fees. A week after, I'm dropping out of school. Is there an agreement between Nigeria and those schools to return the funds?
There's more to this. Now, I'm going to throw this back to, I have Aliyu back now,
right,
from Abuja, live from Abuja. Aliyu, if you can hear me, the issue of transparency and integrity now comes in, because that's one problem, that's a challenge that Nigerians, many have identified as affecting development, talking about integrity and transparency, people maintaining integrity and also being transparent in whatever they do. Now, looking at this new policy, Akin's argument is, well, maybe might not be properly implemented. What do you think?
Well, what I think is that a policy is a policy, and a policy is to improve the general economic condition of a country. Now, you can't, because of sharp practices and, stop a policy or not implement a policy. Regardless of, you have people, diverting and doing all sorts and, going below and, all sorts of sharp practices you get in the economy, you still have to go on with your policy. Implement your policy, and then it will be rare for the regulators to look for ways to stop people from round tripping, to look for ways to stop people from, buying dollars at a lower amount from banks and going to sell. It's up to the regulators. But let's not forget that in Nigeria, we have the honest people, the honest retailers, we have the honest traders, we have the honest Nigerians that are going about fighting for their means of livelihood. Now, we cannot deny these people of their means of livelihood because we have the few that engage in sharp practices. Well, I don't have the solution to all the sharp practices, but I think majority of Nigerians, this policy is going to help majority of Nigerians, because if you make dollar available, at major outlets, I think it will also reduce people engaging in sharp practices. When you can freely go to the open market and get something, why do you have to go to the black market to do it? So that is one of the major solutions, economic solutions, that would lead to a complete disappearance of the black market, availability of dollars. This will reduce black market, and at the same time, it will reduce the difference between the official market and the parallel market. So increase in supply has one solution. It will make the money available to everybody, and as such, you don't have to go under the table to get your dollars. So I think it's a policy in the right direction, and once it's implemented, the regulators, which is the CBN, should also monitor these policies and ensure that there are stiff penalties for people who violate these policies. If you have that, I think a lot of banks and a lot of bureau de change will be willing to comply, and as such, what you see is that the difference between the official and the parallel market will reduce, and there will be more supply of dollars, and the pressure on the naira will reduce, and as such, also that will reduce inflation, and as such, the foreign forex problem we are experiencing in Nigeria will reduce if this policy is well practiced. That is obviously different from Nigerian economic problems, which we can talk about much later. Thank you.
All right. Then indeed, that's what time can take now. Aliu Audu, an economic expert from Abuja. Thank you very much for your contribution and to this show. Well, we're going to go on a break, and we'll be right back. And we'll still be discussing issues surrounding Forex. It's a very important topic, and I'll still have Akin Omishade here to, still give insight into this as we round up on the show. Please stay with Business Nigeria, because we'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. You're watching Business Nigeria, and we've been looking at issues surrounding the Forex market, which has been a challenge for some time. And a corporate commercial solicitor, Akin Omishade, is with me in the studio, has been giving insights to this issue. And we also had a guest from Abuja, but now we're going to continue with the studio because we signed out with Abuja. Now, almost rounding up the show now. All of this, what we want to achieve is stability, liquidity, transparency, and all of that in the market. Just like Audu said before he rounded up, he was saying proper monitoring. I think he's now speaking your mind, or what? Or do I say, what do you think? What we need to achieve all of this? How do you think government can do it right?
Well, the thing is, you see, when a commodity is common, prices will fall. But because this commodity is scarce, that's why we're always chasing after it. We need to refloat or kickstart the economy and keep it running. If we're able to do that, then we will move away from a mono economy. We'll have other streams of income. And once we have other streams of income, the availability of this so-called gold dust, this greenback, will now be common. And then what is common is not immediate. The value is lower, and then there is no incentive to hoard it. There's no incentive to steal it. There's no incentive to make it scarce, artificially scarce. So that is one of the things that this government needs to quickly sit down and say, where are we getting it wrong? How do we kickstart our economy? Attract foreign direct investment. Encourage local production. We've been talking about agriculture, we've been talking about solid minerals. This government has been there for 2 years. I have not seen what they've done to give investors the confidence to come in. When in the budget, you've placed the dollar at 305 in the budget. You've placed it at 305 to the naira. Now you're telling me that at 375, so that means I will bring in my dollar, and when I want to take it out, I am paying more to export it. Nobody's going to believe you. Those are issues that the government has to. Is it that we are going to allow the naira to just float and let it rise and fall with the dollar? Fine. So everybody knows, okay, this is it. We're speculating. It's not fixed. The sectors that the government has now preferred, they're not generating anything. We are consuming. So the reserve that we've saved over some time, that is what the government is releasing. But how do you replenish that? So those are the areas that the government has to go and look into. And then there are so many opportunities to abuse the amounts that the government is releasing. And this is a situation which shows that even though it's a good intention, it has not been well thought through yet.
Interesting. I think we will leave it at that for today, because I know we can go on and on with
Definitely.
regards to Forex. It's really a very topical issue, and I know they are listening in terms of affairs, and they will just do it right and just let us get out of
There's
it.
a situation. Now we have so much. How long can the government sustain this amount that it has earmarked for this medical fees, school medical bills, school fees, BTAs and PTAs? For how long will the government sustain it? Okay, now suddenly everybody wants to go to Europe or go to America or go somewhere else for summer holidays. Will the government have enough to sustain it? And what will happen is, if there's too much demand, what happens again? Prices will go up, and then you go back to the BDCs, you go back to the parallel market.
Oh, let's see how it goes at the end of the day.
Confusion,
That's what time can take now. Corporate Commercial Solicitor Akin Omishade, thank you very much for your views on business Nigeria. It's been very interesting talking to you. I'm also say thank you to Aliu again, though he's gone offline, but at least we'll say thank you to him for joining us from Abuja. Well, that's all we have for you today on the show. Join us again another time. I am Tolulokpe Ogunjobi. On behalf of the entire production crew, I must thank you for watching. But right now, I'll leave you with the figures of the exchange rate as it stands today. Bye for now.